Hello friends, today's story is from Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. In the Mirzaganj market of Malihabad, there was a well-known clothing store named Prem Vastralaya. It was festive season, and the shop was bustling with a huge crowd of customers. Karwa Chauth was just 2 days away, and everyone was busy shopping. Amidst this crowd and chaos, a young man named Vikas, who worked as a salesman at the shop, was getting frustrated with the constant calls on his mobile phone. The phone would ring every 2 minutes. He was torn between attending to customers and answering calls, unsure what to do. Finally, annoyed, he switched off his mobile to focus on work. When the crowd lessened around noon, Vikas breathed a sigh of relief. It was lunchtime, so he picked up his tiffin and went to a small storeroom at the back of the shop. Sitting there, he opened his lunch and thought, "Let me switch the mobile back on too." As soon as the phone turned on, the screen lit up with 22 missed calls and 8 WhatsApp messages, all from a woman named Geeta, who was his aunt by relation. She had been calling him nonstop for hours. This time, instead of calling back, Vikas decided to read the messages first. As he read through them, his mood worsened. The messages were full of complaints, scolding, and even a threat. One message read, "I'm coming to the shop. Let's see how you avoid buying me the sari now." Vikas scratched his head and muttered in frustration, "Where do I get the sari from? Even the shop owner is asking me for last month's salary." He pulled himself together, quickly finished his lunch, and returned to the front of the shop. The crowd had picked up again. Without wasting time, he joined his fellow salesman and got back to work. Just then, his eyes caught sight of Geeta walking toward the shop. Seeing her, Vikas panicked for a moment and quietly stepped aside. Geeta entered the shop directly and in a loud, complaining voice asked, "Why didn't you pick up the phone? I called you so many times." Flustered, Vikas said, "You can see how busy the shop is, right?" Geeta cut him off. "You even switched off the phone. Now tell me, where's my sari?" Geeta, his aunt, had asked him 2 days ago to bring her a sari for Karwa Chauth, but Vikas hadn't delivered it yet. At the shop, Vikas couldn't answer her properly. Geeta said again, "What are you staring at now? I have to get the fall-stitched blouse made and petticoat ready too." Vikas tried to explain, "Geeta, please go home for now. I'll bring the sari in the evening, along with the puja items." Geeta, irritated, replied, "You've been saying the same thing since last week. That's why I had to come to the shop myself." Vikas once again requested, "Please, just go for now. There's a lot of work here." As she left, Geeta said, "Fine, I'm going. But make sure you come in the evening with the sari, puja items, and some money too." Vikas sighed in relief and got back to work. On the other hand, Geeta walked away from the shop slowly, disappointed. She kept thinking, "Once upon a time, Vikas would run to help me with everything. Now he doesn't even have time for me." She began to feel the loneliness and struggle in her life. Her husband, Prakash, who worked in Mumbai, hadn't been able to get leave even during the festival. She started questioning herself. With what right did I go asking Vikas for a sari? When my own husband isn't around, how can I expect anything from someone else? Geeta blamed herself, her eyes welling with tears and her heart heavy as she walked back home. Still, she held on to the hope that Vikas would bring her the clothes and other necessities for Karwa Chauth. Meanwhile, Vikas sat quietly in the shop, counting on his fingers. He was worried about the loans he had already taken. He couldn't figure out how to ask the shop owner for another sari and some more money on credit. The loan he already had would take months to repay. He didn't have the courage to borrow anymore. On the day of Karwa Chauth, Geeta wore her old everyday sari with a heavy heart. She used that to offer rice, sweets, and water to the moon, completing the rest of the rituals. Through the sieve, she looked at her husband's photo, offered prayers to the moon, and after breaking her fast, gave prasad to her 6-year-old daughter Deepika. It was nighttime, everything was quiet. Geeta was tired, hungry, and unable to sleep. Suddenly, she heard a faint sound at the door. She came outside and saw Vikas standing there, smiling, but his hands were empty. Geeta's anger erupted. In a loud voice, she said, "What have you come for now? And that too in the middle of the night?" Get out of here. Don't ever step into my house again. I don't need you anymore. Vikas softly replied, Geeta, please try to understand my helplessness. But before he could finish, Geeta lost her temper and started shouting obscenities at him. You come to me when you feel like it, but when I need you the most, you disappear. Geeta couldn't stop ranting. She kept hurling insults at Vikas, who stood there silently, listening to everything. His condition had become strange. He wanted to speak, but Geeta didn't give him a chance. She was behaving like a hungry lioness, growling over her prey. Finally, Geeta suddenly turned around and in a fit of rage, slammed the door shut from inside. Vikas stood there for a few moments and then quietly walked away. After that night, Geeta made up her mind. She would never let Vikas come near her again. She also decided she would never speak to him again. And that's exactly what happened. Weeks went by. Geeta neither met Vikas nor messaged or called him. She didn't even wish him a happy new year, even though Vikas called her several times. But Geeta kept disconnecting his calls. Whenever he came to her house, Geeta would shut the door without saying a word. While working at the shop, Vikas would keep looking outside, maybe just to catch one glimpse of Geeta. He wanted to meet her one last time and explain everything. His helplessness, his love, and all the expenses he had borne for her, which had left him in deep debt. Then one day while roaming in the market, Vikas saw Geeta. She was shopping with her father Sidnath, son Deepanshu, and her daughter. Geeta's in-laws were from Ishapur village, and her husband Prakash worked a private job in Mumbai. Her parental home was in Dilawar Nagar, a few kilometers from Lucknow. Her father often visited her in-laws' home to help her with essentials. That day, Geeta stood alone in front of a cosmetic shop. Vikas immediately came out of the shop and silently walked up to her. He grabbed her hand and pulled her aside and asked in a serious tone, "What is your intention? Why do you keep acting like you want me to kill you?" Without stopping, he lashed out at her in one breath. In a fit of rage, Vikas even said, "Either you kill me or I'll finish you." The situation had become very tense. Sensing the gravity of the moment, Geeta stayed silent and didn't react. After a while, Vikas calmed down on his own. Geeta then quietly took her children and went home. The next morning, January 17th, 2025, Sub-Inspector Aman Srivastava, posted at Malihabad police station, received a call. A woman and her 6-year-old daughter had been murdered inside their home in Ishapur village. Aman Srivastava immediately informed SO Satish Chandra Sahu, who then ordered him to rush to the scene with his team. Soon, ACP Amol Murkar also arrived with additional police force. SI Aman Srivastava, along with SI Ashwini Kumar, Vivek Kumar, Constables Gauri Shankar Yadav, Uttam Rathi, and Head Constable Kamran Khan, reached the crime scene. What they saw inside the house was horrifying. 2 dead bodies, one of a woman around 28 years old named Geeta, and the other of her 6-year-old daughter Deepika. Both had been brutally murdered with sharp weapons. Initial investigation suggested the murders occurred between 2 to 3 a.m. The police sent both bodies for post-mortem after documentation. They began investigating from both her parental and in-laws' side. By noon, the surveillance team and dog squad arrived in Ishapur. The sniffer dog tracked a scent about 20 meters to the nearby Lucknow railway line, then stopped and turned back. This led police to suspect that the killer may have escaped on foot along the railway tracks. It also became clear that very few outsiders visited Geeta's house. Most visitors were her relatives from either side. Police suspected that the murderer might be someone familiar. They contacted her father, Sidnath Kanojia, who lived in Dilawar Nagar under Rahimabad police station. Based on his complaint, an FIR was registered under Section 1031 of the Bans Act. Considering the seriousness of the case, DCP West Vishwajit Srivastava formed multiple investigation teams. ADCP Dhananjay Kumar Kushwaha and Inspector Satish Chandra Sahu joined the crime and surveillance team. From the police commissioner's office, Inspector Shivendra Mishra, SI Ashutosh Pandey, Shubham Parashar, Constables Pawan, Dilip, and Suraj Singh were also assigned to the case. All teams worked relentlessly. Within just 12 hours, they achieved a major breakthrough. Geeta's phone call records revealed that in the past year, a man named Vikas had called her about 1 in 1,100 times. This, along with their previous disputes, raised serious suspicion. The very next day, January 17, 2025, police arrested Vikas, son of Rajesh, from Ishapur village near the highway in Malihabad. At the station, he was interrogated rigorously. It didn't take long. Vikas confessed that he had indeed murdered Geeta and her daughter. What he revealed next was shocking and deeply disturbing. He explained why and how he committed this gruesome act. So friends, let's move ahead in the video and explore this incident in more detail. But before that, please subscribe to the channel, like and share the video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. He gave her some money and returned to Mumbai the next morning. Geeta didn't like how quickly he left each time, but she couldn't say anything. Slowly, a year passed. Prakash couldn't visit the village again. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic struck and the country went into lockdown. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't come home. Later, he thought of visiting during Holi, but another lockdown was imposed and he got stuck in Mumbai again. His business suffered and his income started to decline. Managing household expenses became difficult for Geeta. The money Prakash had sent was now exhausted. In the meantime, Prakash sought help from his cousin Rajesh's son, Vikas. He asked Vikas to take care of his wife Geeta and the children back in the village. He even told Geeta over the phone that she could freely ask Vikas for any help. After that, Vikas started visiting Geeta's house. Since they were related as aunt and nephew, no one in the village or Geeta's family suspected anything. Vikas fulfilled the promise he made to his uncle Prakash with sincerity. Since Prakash was not around, Vikas would often stop by to check on Geeta. Whenever he had free time from work, he would visit her. They would sit for hours and talk. Geeta shared her thoughts, and Vikas would listen attentively. If she needed anything, Vikas would bring it for her. Vikas worked at a clothing shop in the Malihabad market. Every evening on his way home, he would often stop by to see Geeta. Day by day, he found himself drawn toward her. It was summer, and the clock showed 9 p.m. The night was slowly settling in. Geeta's 2 children were asleep on a cot in the courtyard. Inside the house, it was silent. Only Geeta and Vikas were there. When Vikas got up to leave, Geeta stopped him and said, "Eat here tonight and stay over." Hearing this, Vikas paused as if lost in thought. An idea crossed his mind. In the dim lantern light, he looked closely at Geeta's fair face and her warmth, which pulled him toward her. Vikas was just 25, a young and unmarried man, and emotions began to surge within him. After staring at her for a while, he said, "I need to go home tonight, but I'll ask my mother and come tomorrow for sure." Geeta smiled gently and said, "You must come tomorrow, I swear it on me." Her words made Vikas restless. He now clearly understood Geeta's desires. As he left, he said, "Okay, tomorrow night I'll eat here and stay." The next day, Vikas was fully prepared. He bought non-veg food and a bottle of alcohol. During the day, he dropped off everything at Geeta's house on his bike and promised to return in the evening. Around 10 p.m., he arrived at her place. Geeta was ready to dine with him. Before eating, Vikas decided to take 2 pegs of alcohol. While Geeta went into the kitchen to heat the food, he quickly started drinking. When she returned with the food, Vikas was slightly drunk. He forced Geeta to have 2 pegs as well. The alcohol affected them both. As they chatted, things turned flirtatious. Then they gave in to their physical desires. That night, their emotions and needs completely overpowered them. Once that boundary was crossed, they started meeting regularly on their own terms. Geeta, who was not receiving any marital fulfillment from her husband, found companionship in Vikas, who was still single. She gave herself completely to him, and Vikas started fulfilling all her needs. In January 2024, when Prakash returned to Lucknow for a few days, he stayed home for a week before going back to Mumbai. After that, Geeta spent some time at her maternal home, but from October 2024, she started living in a separate house near the orchard at her in-laws' place. Just beyond that orchard ran a railway line. That's where Geeta and Vikas started meeting. Early every morning, Vikas would sneak out and reach the shop in Malihabad with food. In the evenings, he'd stop by Geeta's house again. They would talk lovingly and engage in intimate moments. Whenever Vikas returned from the market, Geeta's children would check his pockets, hoping he'd brought something for them. Geeta's daughter Deepika lived with her, while her son Dipanshu stayed with his maternal grandfather. Now their relationship had evolved far beyond acquaintance. They had grown so close that separation became painful. Vikas even started spending his earnings on Geeta. He was the sole earner in his family, which included 2 sisters and parents who depended entirely on him. Eventually, his family noticed the change in his behavior and suspected he was involved in a wrong relationship with Geeta. To break the connection, the family decided to send him to another city. Vikas had already fallen into heavy debt due to overspending on Geeta. Following his father's advice, he spent around Rs 3.5 lakhs in 2023 to get a job abroad in Kuwait. When he left, Geeta was left alone, but the emotional bond between them did not fade. Just 2 months into his stay in Kuwait, Geeta began calling him every night, complaining about her loneliness and pleading with him to return. Eventually, worn down by her emotions and insistence, Vikas left the job after just 2 months and came back to Lucknow. Now he was buried under a debt of nearly Rs 4 lakhs. He rejoined the same clothing showroom he used to work at earlier. 2 days before Karva Chauth in October 2024, he went to meet Geeta. She handed him a long list of festival expenses and told him that her husband Prakash wouldn't be coming again this time. So it was Vikas's responsibility to buy the items for the puja and asari. She also mentioned that all her clothes and jewelry were at her maternal home. Vikas explained his financial troubles, but she insisted. On Karva Chauth, Geeta went to the showroom to ask for money. However, Vikas's attitude disappointed her, and she decided to distance herself from him. She stopped taking his calls. This cold behavior deeply disturbed Vikas. He became mentally unstable, constantly thinking about her. On the night of January 15, 2025, he called Geeta and asked to meet, but she refused bluntly. She said, "I'm not your wife to bear your burdens. Don't come to me again. Don't expect anything from me." Hearing this broke Vikas completely. Filled with anger and humiliation, he decided to teach her a lesson. Around 1 a.m., he reached Geeta's house, climbed a utility pole, and entered through the roof. He went straight to Geeta's room and asked her to open the door. She refused and told him to leave. When she didn't open the door after a long time, he quietly went into the kitchen and started throwing utensils. There, he found a large knife, which he hid. Hearing the noise, Geeta came out and started scolding him. Already enraged, Vikas said, "Today I'll end everything." Then, he hit Geeta on the head with a stick until she lost consciousness. When she fell to the ground, he took out the knife and slit her throat. Her daughter Deepika woke up to the screams. When she saw her bhaiya in such a rage, she started crying and tried to run, but Vikas caught her and brutally killed her as well. After the murder, he washed his hands and feet in a bucket in the courtyard and left the way he came. The police caught him after the incident. During interrogation, he confessed everything. The police recovered the bike, knife, some jewelry, and 760 in cash. Vikas said he loved Geeta deeply, but that love became his biggest mistake. After questioning, he was presented in court and sent to jail. Friends, the purpose of sharing this story is not to cause distress, but to raise awareness and alertness. What are your thoughts on this entire incident? Please share in the comments. Also, tell us where you're watching this video from. If you appreciated our effort, please like and share the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Thank you.